Hey, let me ask you a question. How much control do you feel like you have over your own life? I mean, like in the face of national and international events, in the face of what goes on in your city or even your own home, how much control do we have over our own happiness or contentment or peace or any of that? That's the conversation we're having today on the DreamersLIVE podcast. I think you'll think it's really interesting, and there might be some insight in there that can help all of us to kind of be empowered in that way. And so anyway, I'm so thrilled that we get to have this conversation with you. Let's get started.
This podcast is a presentation of Pioneer Dream, celebrating 30 years of moving stories for our corporate, nonprofit, and entertainment partners.
Dreamers, what is up? It is us, and we are live on the DreamersLIVE podcast. Hello, Anjanette.
Hello, Jay.
Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to all of us.
Yes.
We have been on a fall break extravaganza, which is, as you well know if you're a regular listener, has meant that we have not been here. And so we gave you the opportunity to hear a different podcast. We actually did some cross-pollination, as we like to say.
Oh, is that what they say in the marketing world?
And we brought you an episode of the Got a Minute Mini podcast, and I am just certain, I'm just sure that you thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm sure that you did too.
You got to hear a funny chapter from the book, and more importantly, you got to hear a really fantastic song from Anjanette.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. So you can like and subscribe to that podcast. You can like and subscribe to this podcast. We will love you either way, but we'll love you more.
Yeah, we would hope that you would subscribe, and share these little gems that you're finding here.
Let's spread the conversation.
Yeah, let's do it.
Speaking of, while we were away, we did have a DreamersLIVE event. It was at Cooper Mill about, last week, as a matter of fact, for our current time. And we had a great time. People at Cooper Mill always take really good care of us. And
no pumpkin beer was consumed.
No
they
pumpkin
didn't make
beers.
any pumpkin beer.
I am so
good.
proud of them. But there were fall and holiday decorations.
Oh,
and
it was so cute.
And one very, very lively child in the background who just
there was actually a family, and honestly,
a gaggle of kids.
Yeah,
probably.
they were so cute. Like they had set up. So we're in the back.
They were picturesque. They looked like Gerber children, like from the
I know
from
they
the
were adorable
food stuff. Yeah.
So we were in the back room area, so the door shuts, but the sound comes over the top. And as we came in, I saw this cute family. It was like the parents had all gotten together. It was like 2 or 3 families, and they realized that there's games and fun, and their kids could hang out and they could play and have beer.
They go
Not
there
the
frequently.
kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it was
according to Sassy, the bartender.
It was so loud. They were playing like Yahtzee or throwing dominoes or something.
Whatever it was, they were giving it full throttle. It was just a lot.
I couldn't focus. But anyway, we did have a fun night with everybody.
Well, we had some new people there, which is always delightful. And the people that
awesome regulars.
Yeah, people were able to brave. We had rains and storms and sound and all that kind of stuff, and the audience was amazing. So
it was a fun
shout out
night.
to you dreamers that showed up and came out and enjoyed that night. We loved seeing you. And speaking of which, we will be doing one more Dreamers in December. It will likely be December 12th, but don't quote us on that.
We're checking on
but
a
it will
couple
be the
more
last
things.
It will be the last Dreamers of the year. So make plans now. Can't make plans to cancel any other plans.
That's a great idea. Just forget that work party or family gathering. It doesn't matter.
If you do one thing this holiday season outside of celebrating the tiny baby Jesus,
well,
do that. Do this. Come and be with us.
Our Christmas party is always really fun.
It is. It'll be lively. There'll probably be some music, maybe some live music. If we can talk people into that. There'll be some decor and all kinds of wonderful things.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and what is this week that we're celebrating in our own personal life?
This week we were celebrating
the Great Pumpkin.
Halloween. Well, we're celebrating multiple things as we are like to do. So we have the Great Pumpkin and Halloween on Friday.
I like to call it Great Pumpkin Day.
Great Pumpkin Day, indeed.
Yeah.
And we'll do all that. We have a candy distribution system left over from, actually started back during COVID. We had to give candy to people and we couldn't have physical contact with them. So we developed a thing Kind of like, well, our neighbors did a candy cannon, and
Yes.
it's an air blower. It shoots the can up in the air, and so like for days you find candy spread across the street. We
That is
actually block
awesome.
off our street over Halloween night.
Yes, we have a fun neighborhood and fun neighbors.
Shout out to Chad for taking care of
Yeah, good job, Chad.
blocking off the
Getting
streets and
road
getting the permits
blockings.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a festival, kind of fall carnival atmosphere. It's really fun, and we get a lot of kids. And I tell you what,
Yes.
it'll break you on the candy.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's so many kids come through. I went to the dollar store and just like bought up all the blow pops
Yes.
that they have, and I'm hoping
Because they
it'll-
won't remember, with the way we distribute candy, they won't remember what house they got that candy from. They'll
Yeah.
just know they get. So what we have is
Okay, right.
we have this thing we call the Jack 3000.
I thought it was Jack 2000.
Oh my gosh, that's the old version.
Oh.
And so this is the Jack 3000. It's a long, giant 3-inch pipe.
PVC
at
pipe,
the very
right? Mm-hmm.
end of it is this very colorful wooden-faced pumpkin Jack.
Yes.
And then Jack has arms and a mouth that lights up. And then he's on this little easel thing that we've built. And so you lift Jack up, you put
Right.
the candy in, and then you lift the back end of it, and the candy slides down the pipe.
Yes.
And there's an X on the driveway, and the kids stand there with open hands or a bag or something like that. They're usually a little freaked out because, in the right lighting with a mouthful of glow, Jack
Yeah.
looks a little scary.
Oh,
and
he's
so,
pretty cute though.
but it's kind of become a hit. And
Yeah.
so all of our neighbors do that. We have Tom down the street usually dresses up in, I don't know what you would call it. It's like a duck hunting outfit, but it makes you look like a bush,
It's
essentially.
like, it's like a leaf. We like to call it leaf man. It kind of
And
is
so
kind of weird. Sneaks up on you.
He gets in that thing. It's very realistic.
It is.
And so he gets into that. He crouches down and he hides.
Yeah.
And then as kids come by, he stands up and scares the peawadding out of them.
Yeah, and adults too. In fact, last year I was walking down the street with our daughter because somebody has to man the
Yes,
Jack 3000.
that's-
So
yeah.
I was walking down, doing a little trick or treating with our daughter. We're just walking, chit chatting, the whole thing. And what Tom does in the leaf suit is he just walks up next to you,
Right.
doesn't say anything. He doesn't really scare anybody, but before you know it, he's been walking with you for like 2 minutes. I
Yeah.
look over, I was like, ah.
It's a little bit like if Sasquatch was a leaf pile.
Yeah.
It looks about like that.
It does definitely. Then we have some other neighbors that really deck out with some super scary stuff. It scares
Oh,
me every
my
year, right
gosh,
across
yeah.
the street. So,
Shout out
but
to
mostly
Dave.
it's Dave does a good job of scaring the crap out of everyone. But for the
Right.
most part, it's happy fun stuff. We show the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown in our yard. So
Yes.
anyway, we're gearing up for all that, and then the day after,
Well, and then the neighbors directly beside us, they do like s'mores,
that's
which
right.
is amazing.
They have a
So
s'more
kids come over
station.
and just sit down and do s'mores. I'm like, wow.
I know.
Because when we were kids, it was all about the number of houses you could hit. And
Yeah,
so
you
when
wanna
you
get
hit
the
our
most candy.
block, it's like hitting holiday molasses. Everything slows down. We show in the
Right.
front yard the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown
That's
on a
right.
loop.
Did you know around the corner, it's rumored, but I actually verified that there's a house that gives away full-size candy bars.
That's the Mecca. That's the
Legendary.
thing.
Yeah.
Just leave it. Once you find out about that, you will reroute your whole system.
They
just
must
to
have
get to the-
taken out a loan because I'm telling you,
Golly.
just the fun size will
Yeah.
break us. But anyway.
So anyway,
we
Jack
digress.
3000 will ride again on Friday night, and then, as if that wasn't enough,
Mm-hmm.
most people would do that and then rest the rest of the weekend.
Sure, that sounds
But
nice.
that's not what we're going to do.
Not us.
Because on Saturday, our daughter turns 21.
What?
14. And
Might as well be.
yeah, and so it's a whole day affair, and because
Mm-hmm.
apparently it is against the law to do anything small in our family, she's inviting like 10 kids over, and
Yes,
they
it's a
want
theme party.
Yeah, and then the theme keeps growing and changing
It
and all that
does,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. I don't think she's aware that we'll be near freezing that night because she has her sights set on being outside and watching movies. And I'm
Oh,
like,
boy.
okay, well,
But
we'll
we
just see
will
where that goes.
celebrate no matter what.
Yes, we will.
So
It'll be
that's the
great.
kind of week we're having is getting ready for all that. So
Oh
it's
my gosh.
busy and crazy, but also fun.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of the, as you would say, the unofficial start of the
Yes.
holiday season. And we like that, it's a kind of a slow ramp up, and then it starts with two of our favorite holidays, which is Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And not that we don't love Christmas, but Christmas gets enough love,
Wow.
So,
We like the minor holidays.
plus everybody loves Christmas. That's not special.
Yeah, exactly.
What's special is, Halloween
Yeah,
and Thanksgiving.
Great Pumpkin Day,
Yeah.
for sure.
But that's not why you guys called. So let's talk about.
I like that we just really went over our calendar with everyone.
Yeah,
I'm sure they
it's
appreciate
very
that. Oh,
entertaining.
Thanks
So,
for letting us know what you have going on.
We have, I have this, of course, as most people do, I have a phone. I really think at some level I want to introduce, legislation or the concept at the bare minimum that we rename the device
Yeah,
because
it's
if
not a
you are
phone.
in my family or you're a friend of mine, I use that device as everything but a phone.
When was the last time you had a phone
I am
conversation?
allergic to phone calls.
I
So
know. We're both
man,
terrible.
if you went through my phone log right now, I bet, I mean, honestly, it's not a stretch to say, I bet I don't average 5 phone calls a week.
Oh,
I bet
yeah.
maybe 2 at the most,
I
maybe
feel
two
the
and a
same
half.
way. Like, I only use it at work when I have to call about like a bill, when I've done everything
It's always a medical thing.
else.
That's the thing you
You
have to
have
do.
to
It's like,
call about medical
yeah,
stuff, or or you call your mom sometimes.
right.
I'm sure she wishes you'd call her
Yeah,
more.
she does.
But
Yeah. Shout out to mom.
yeah, shout out to mom. But anyway, yeah, my sister and I joke about it because if either she or I were to call each other, it means it's
Right.
like a massive emergency. And then
Right.
occasionally one of us will forget and call about something minor. We're like, "Are you okay?" We
Yes.
pick it up.
Yeah.
So we're allergic to the phone.
So I've said on the program before, but I've told you, if anything ever happens to me, that you, of course, grab my phone and which you always have access to, and I live on the Notes app. So
Yeah.
if I get a random thought, if I have a reminder, if I'm making a list, if
All
I'm
your
going to
brilliant
Lowe's,
ideas are on
if I'm going to the
there.
Lowe's Depot, whatever it is, I just make my list on that thing, and you can speak into it. You can, even when I'm, a lot of times, even if I'm going to send an important text message or email, I will
Yeah.
pre-write it in
Oh,
Notes.
you do?
Yeah, because I also have Grammarly on there
Oh,
and
yeah,
all that
that's
kind of
good.
stuff. So it just tells me in advance, hey, idiot, that's not how you say that. And so I do all that stuff. Well, I was referencing something in my notes the other day, and I came across this phrase
Okay.
that I had written, which is a thing that we kind of have grown to live by.
Mm,
And I thought right now it seems really important. So the
okay.
phrase is, "What we plant grows,"
Yeah.
and that means in our lives, whatever it is we plant in our lives,
hmm
whatever seeds we're planting, those are the seeds that grow in our lives. And so, like you and I have talked about a lot lately, that there is this kind of like a kinetic anxiety,
Yeah.
like a frequency that is like a radio frequency that's in the air. And some of that is based on the things we're going through personally, or some of those are things that we're going through nationally or even internationally. But some of it is just this kinetic thing, this kinetic energy that's out there, this
Yeah.
kinetic anxiety that's out there.
Do you think it's something that's kind of exacerbated by technology and the amount of
Well, it's
media or
very
messages that we're
interesting.
attacked by?
I think it's very interesting because I do think there are correlations to behaviors we have.
hmm
And I definitely notice that there's like this upsurge in that sense or feeling
Okay.
with my connection to technology, more specifically my phone. So,
Okay.
and then if I get into the socials or if I get on to news websites and all that kind of stuff,
Well, don't do that.
I can definitely feel it physically when I
Yeah.
do that. And then when I'm done, even if I have limited my amount of time on there,
hmm
there's a little sense of confusion or disorientation or whatever that kind of
Yeah.
thinks, what happened? Where am I? What am I supposed to be
It's so
doing?
funny. Yeah, we were home yesterday, and I usually, after I pick our daughter up from school, I will work another hour and a
Yeah.
half or so, depending on what we have going on. And so I have my laptop there on the kitchen table, and we've had a bunch of details in the week going on, and so yeah, I sat down at it, and every time I would get up, and I was working on things, but sometimes that
Yes.
requires me being on social media or different things, and I would just feel this. And then I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't want to go back to it. I
Yes.
think part of that overall anxiety that we feel is, I would describe it as because of the age that we live in. And part of it is the type of work that we do, but there's always something else I could be doing,
hmm
some other thing I could be being
Right.
more productive on. Oh, I should
Yes.
hop on there and update this list. Or it's
Right.
just sort of like the very thing that makes it so convenient is that it's all there and at our
Yeah.
fingertips also makes me feel like I'm never going to get done.
Right. Well, and I think part of this kinetic anxiety produces this feeling like you always feel perpetually like you're forgetting something.
Yes, that's
What
a
is it? It feels like I'm forgetting to do something. It feels like I'm forgetting about something. It feels
You
like,
said that a couple times last week. I was like, I know
yeah.
we're getting older, but I mean,
And
I
so
feel like that a lot.
there's this dis-ease or unease
hmm
disease.
That's what disease means is dis-ease.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you have this you're not at ease at all. You
Hmm.
feel this thing like that. Like I sat down to read for a little bit when I got home.
You
I
mean a
knew
book?
I read a book,
Good job.
but the whole time I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I feel like
Hmm.
I'm leaving something. I feel like there's something that I'm supposed to be taking care of that I'm not taking care of. So
Yes.
there's this whole energy about it that kind of unsettles you.
Yeah.
And I thought about that in terms of this phrase, that what we plant grows. And I thought, I wonder if that means for us that we do have a certain amount of control over this,
Hmm.
and that we can take steps to kind of quell this a little bit, in our own minds, in our own psyches, in our own stuff.
Yeah.
So,
You mean that generalized sort of
yeah,
anxiety or nervousness that we
right.
feel? Okay.
So, well, actually, in all things, and so, we know that you grew up in this Baptist, and the Baptist, well, with everybody actually, it's just a scriptural proverb thing that
Yeah.
says essentially what you plant is what you reap. You reap
Yeah.
what you
You reap
sow.
what you sow. I mean, that's a popular phrase just in
Yeah.
everyday vernacular.
Yeah. And some people would call it karma, and some people would call it, whatever else.
You know, it was so funny. We were listening to Rage Against the Machine yesterday.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone. We do go back to the 90s every once in a while. And Evangeline had a tough day at middle school, and she goes like, Mom, I need to listen to a couple of Rage Against the Machine songs, which just cracked me
Yeah.
up. And I was like, okay, babe, we'll do it. And then at the end of one, it was funny because we had talked about reaping and sowing
Yes.
at DreamersLIVE last Friday. Of course, she was
Yes.
there helping us. And at the end of the song, they go, "You're gonna reap what you sow,"
Yeah.
like that. She goes, "Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
even Rage Against the Machine knows that." This is really funny.
Well, okay. So let's think about this for a little second. This
Okay.
idea that we are pretty much continuously planting seeds in our lives, that the thoughts we entertain, that the
Hmm.
actions we take, the actions we don't take, the communications we have, all those kind of things are setting up for a result later in our lives.
Yeah.
That those are the seeds we plant. So, for example, when I am online, whether on news sites or scrolling social media or whatever, there's a
Yeah.
certain amount of that is planting seeds.
Yeah.
And
Electronically.
yeah, we've talked about this, that essentially every click that we make online is a seed. We're clicking to say,
Yeah.
and what that click is saying, or what that seed is saying, is whatever it is I'm clicking on, I want more of that.
Yeah.
It's like going to the grocery store and buying product. Once you buy the product, you're telling those people, we would like to see more of this
Yeah.
kind of thing on
Please
the
have
shelves.
this next week. Yeah.
Yeah. So in our
Mhm.
lives, we're doing the same thing. We click
Yes.
on something, we click on a story on social media or on a website, and they monitor those clicks. And they say, oh, okay, well, this person has planted a seed in the hopes of harvesting more stories like
Yeah.
this in
Yeah.
their lives.
Yeah.
And we do it. Same thing happens when we search for product. You go on
Yeah.
Amazon
Yeah.
or
You need new
Temu
socks
or
or
whatever. Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
exactly
And
right.
you go in there, and then the next time you get on your feed, you're like, why are there 12 ads for different kinds of
Exactly right.
socks?
Yeah. So, so that's part of it. So we have this thing where we're clicking on stuff, or what we would call doom scrolling, where you're just going through and looking at all the tragic news and all the things,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so
It's the
those
worst.
seeds come back later, and it comes back in the way of anxiety,
Yeah.
or maybe you,
Or feeling doomed.
yeah, or maybe your feed is just full of images of other people on vacation
Yeah.
and going places, and their kids are succeeding, and they're
Yeah.
driving new
They're
cars and
always
getting
in
new houses.
Paris.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh! And
Yeah.
so the end result, or the growth of that seed, then can become, a
Feeling-
sense of envy,
yeah,
or a sense
feeling
of
jealous.
frustration or jealousy or whatever.
Sure.
So that's one of those ideas, and on the positive side, we've talked about like seeds that you can plant, like the seed of gratitude.
Hmm.
When you become aware of good things in your life, and then you verbalize that, that's planting a seed. And the end result of that is you become A, more joyful, B, more hopeful, and C, you set yourself up to recognize even more goodness in your life. Like we
Yeah.
have this thing that we do sometimes, even with the kids in our Dreamers Club, where we say, okay, let's name 2 things or 3 things that you're really grateful for, you're really thankful for. And
Mhm.
as you get quiet and you start putting that list together in your mind, pretty soon it becomes a bit like an avalanche. You can't really stop at 3,
Yeah.
because there's also 4 and 5, and I also forgot about 6, 7, and 8.
Uh-huh.
And so gratitude produces more gratitude, more joy, more hope, more all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that gratitude is a seed that you are planting, and it will show up later in your day or in your week or in your life, and it will produce this crop.
Hmm.
So this idea of the seeds we plant producing a crop in our lives, I find to be tremendously empowering, because it says at some level, oh, I don't have any control over international politics.
Yeah.
I can't control what's happening in Israel. I can't control what's happening in Ukraine. I can't even control what's happening in Washington. I can barely influence or impact what's happening in city council. So, but these other things I do have control over, and they are the seeds in my life that can impact me. And so one of the conversations, or one of the exercises we did at Dreamers that night, was to think, okay, if you get quiet for a minute and you think about your life, your daily life, and you think, okay, where are the places of reoccurring conflict or reoccurring frustration
Yeah.
or reoccurring pain?
And that can be in relationships or
That could be emotional,
Okay.
in your emotional life, your health life, your day-to-day life, your work life, your family life. If you go back to those places and you say that this is a recurring point, then you can ask yourself, okay, are there seeds that I'm planting that are influencing that or
Yeah.
impacting that
Yeah.
for the positive or the worse? And what could I do? So, we're at a tricky age right now with Evangeline.
Yeah.
She's going to be 14. She has this whole other set of things that she wants to do, and suddenly her eyes are turning less from, more from home to the outside world.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
she wants to
And
be
it's
other
normal.
places and
Sure.
all that kind of stuff. And it really takes a lot to get conversation going. Not that she doesn't talk a lot, but
The meaningful
but the
conversation.
conversation and stuff. And so I have had to be, and you have had to be,
Hmm.
really intentional about the seeds we're planting with her right now
Yeah.
and what those will mean, because it would be easy at some level because those things that she's involved in don't really interest us,
Right.
to let that go and say, oh, well, this is just the time where she's going away now. This
Yeah.
is just the time where she's whatever. And we are giving her a lot of that freedom.
Sure.
But I don't want to lose her as a daughter. I don't want to lose
Yeah.
that connection. So I am being intentional, as you are,
Hmm.
to make sure that we find these points of contact.
Yeah.
And so I keep planting those seeds.
The
And
seeds of things that connect with her.
yes.
And
And that's,
yeah.
So if you find yourself in a place, we were thinking about this the other day, if you find yourself in a place where, a segment of your family has resentment towards you or breaks off communication with you or whatever, then it's interesting to ask yourself, am I planting any seeds that would help produce that kind of crop?
Yeah,
Now,
that's
you
interesting.
can't affect everybody and all that
No,
kind of
that's
stuff.
right.
There's family
Sometimes you can do
situations.
all the
Yeah,
right thing
exactly right. Yeah.
and then that's still there. But yeah, I remember when we talked about this on Friday, you talked about the concept of working your way backwards.
Yes.
So
Reverse engineering, essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
which does make sense if you think, okay, I have a difficult relationship with my, pick a family, cousin.
Right.
And you think, man, it just never works when we get together, and I don't know what that is. And if you can work your way back to say, yeah, I wonder what seeds, whether that's just not being
Yes.
attentive or not saying the good about that person, but what seeds am I planting that might reap this
Right.
disconnect in our relationship?
Yes.
And I think it's worth evaluating. Sometimes you can think, I really feel like for the most part, I've done what I can here, and they're just
Yes.
not connecting. But a lot of times we can go back and
Yeah, it's a
start
really
to
interesting
plant
thing.
better seeds.
I have a cousin who wants to get together for the holidays.
Uh-huh.
They've tried to coordinate, negotiate, and do all this stuff. And
Right.
somewhere in the midst of all this kind of unilateral conversation between multiple parties,
Trying to figure it out. Hmm.
I feel like somehow I ended up on the bad side of this conversation. Like,
Sure.
I didn't say anything to instigate anything or whatever, but there was a tone that said, oh, I've offended somebody here somehow.
Right.
Something I've done or said has been taken a certain way.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what that is yet. I haven't been able to pinpoint
But
what
you
that.
looked at it. You
But,
said, what
well, I
seeds
did.
am I?
But now my
maybe.
question is, okay, so I don't really know what that is, and the more I look at it, the more I think, oh, this is really not me.
Yeah.
This cousin of mine is actually struggling with something, and
Yeah.
I am just the recipient, or I'm just the agitator in something they're already experiencing.
Sure.
So if it was not the seeds I planted that produced this crop in them, are there seeds I can plant
Yeah.
that will make good things happen here?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, for me, after we had the talk last weekend, I looked at a few things and in some relationships, and I thought, you don't just say, okay, well, crap, I have planted bad seeds here, or I haven't
Right.
been as attentive to this as I need to be, and so now it's all screwed up. It's more like I think when we're willing to evaluate and take a look back, then we can say, now what do I do?
Right.
So now what positive seeds
Right.
can I plant? I mean, I know you've said to me, we're talking about having a teenager a couple times. I have more contact on a daily basis just by virtue of being the driver,
Yes,
right?
right.
All the moms feel like the,
Taxi,
chaperones.
right.
Yeah. And so I know you've said, I feel kind of distant, from our daughter
Right.
here and there. Just here and there, you'll say that.
Yeah,
And I'll say, okay, well,
circumstantially.
why don't you take her out for coffee? Or is there something you
Yeah,
guys can go
exactly.
do together? So plant a seed that says, hey, you're important to me.
Yes.
And same, I think, in other relationships. I've had to look at that with some of mine and say, what better seeds can I plant now? So it's not a hopeless situation.
Right.
Like, the crop's bad and now we're done.
Yes.
I think it can always, just like a garden starts up every spring. Now I
Yeah.
can try something different or add more, water or sunlight or whatever to that.
There are
I
whole
could do
lots
better.
I think this works in every arena of our lives. We talked about practical things like, okay, if one of your hardships or difficulties or challenges, reoccurring challenges on the daily is, every time I get to work, I feel frenzied, I feel frantic, I can't remember all this. And then okay, maybe one of the seeds that you could plant is the seed of getting up 5 or 10 minutes earlier
Oh, yeah.
and centering
yeah.
or reading or
Having-
meditating or just having the cup of coffee and allowing a little bit more time so you don't have to drive 65 and a 45 to get to the office and
With
pull
your
in
hair on
Yeah, and
fire.
all that kind of stuff, which is a rough way to start that
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And also puts you at odds with most of your coworkers because you can't be human with them. You've got to be getting to your office and checking in
Sure.
and doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So a practical seed to plant in there is, okay, I'm just simply going to get up 10 minutes earlier. I will not know or miss that amount of sleep,
Yeah.
but I will know and appreciate that amount of calm going
Yes.
into the day. And that's a seed I can plant.
I have a recurring meeting that I go to once a month, and it's kind of an inconvenient time right in the middle of the day.
Mhm.
And it always feels like I'm rushing from work to get there and the whole thing. And I've also noticed it's a meeting, and I know other people have these type of organizations you're part of where it feels like every time we get back together, like we're all strangers again. I'm like,
Right.
guys,
Yes. Yes.
we
Right.
work on stuff together.
Yeah.
We do this every month. And so I've noticed that when I show up, even right when it starts, like they start at like 11:59. I
Oh,
mean, they're
gosh.
on it. So if I get there at 11:59 or noon when it's supposed to start, they're
You're already
already in
behind.
it.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to say hello to anyone. And oddly enough, just me in this particular grouping saying hello to people and doing a little normal person chit chat before
Right.
helps the entire feel of the
Changes the
meeting.
current,
I don't know
yes.
what it is about this.
Yeah.
Maybe other people find this. So for me, I know because I have that meeting next week that I'm going to try to get there at 10 till.
Yes.
Because if I can do that, I can change the feel. I can help be a positive influence in that meeting. I will feel better and more
Yeah.
connected to the people, and it really makes a difference.
Oh my
But
gosh.
that's
Yeah.
the thing is I've been planting seeds of, man, I wish this meeting wasn't during the day, so I'm just going to roll right in.
Right.
And if I can change some of that, I think that the harvest that we would say would be better with that
Yes.
group of people.
Well, it's interesting to talk about, the interpersonal relationships and stuff in that way. And, one of the seeds that gets planted more and more by more and more people is this seed of isolation, which then,
Oh,
of course, you
that's
think I
tough.
just want to be home for a little bit. I want to, be quiet for a little bit. And there's times for that. But when it becomes reoccurring,
Yeah.
then you plant the seed of isolationism. Well, then you feel lonely later, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in this meeting. If we are not planting the seeds of connecting with other human beings, then we will
Feel
feel
disconnected.
disconnected with
That's
them. And so
exactly right.
loneliness has become an epidemic for us as a
Yeah.
nation. So this idea of planting seeds of kindness or planting seeds of hospitality or planting seeds of just being cordial
Yeah.
and seeing the other person and starting with things like, hello, how are you? My name is,
Mhm.
Slim Shady.
Yeah.
But that makes such a huge difference when we talk about this thing about how to be human.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the awareness of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so walking into a meeting where most people are looking at their phones and don't look up when you're there,
And they
all that
maybe
kind of
feel
stuff,
rushed too,
or they
from
feel
getting there.
insecure, they
Mm-hmm.
don't know what to do. The idea of saying hello,
Hello,
hello, Jerry,
Jerry, how
hello.
are you?
The idea of saying hello and how
Yeah,
disarming that is,
it
and
is.
how
Yeah.
people are just waiting for somebody to break the ice most of the
Yes.
time. That's so critical.
I think a big place in life that we can all do better planting seeds, or seeds of authenticity in human
Yes, yes, yeah.
connection, because I guarantee you, you're going to have to be the one to do it first.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am in a conversation with someone and I am willing to say, if they say, how are you doing? You don't have to, announce this to the group, but if it's just a
Right.
one-on-one conversation, oh, you know what? I got to be honest. I was like, this week
Yeah.
is taking me down.
Yeah.
I have never, ever had anybody say, oh, well, I'm doing just great.
Right.
What happens every time is they go, man, I know, right? October, it's killing me. And then you make a connection. So, but you have to be willing, we have to be willing to plant that first seed of
Right.
authenticity. And when we are like that with people, I feel like that's something that does begin to grow
Oh, absolutely.
into a more authentic and
Well, as you're
genuine
saying
friendship.
it, suddenly they feel you've said to them, I'm okay
Yeah.
with you sharing from yourself. I'm
Yes.
okay with you being authentic. You don't have to be guarded around me. We can talk about real
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
And then, as you say, the depth of that relationship goes from something
Yeah.
that is strictly at skin level
Right.
and goes to something that's deeper and
I
more
had
gratifying.
a funny conversation with a friend, someone that I consider a friend that was at one of the events we were doing last weekend. We had several different things.
Mhm.
And this person is kind of funny. And so they said, well, how are things going for you? And they could see I was hustling around and dropped something and this. And I said, you know what? I said to them, quietly to them, which was funny. I said, I am kind of just over this week. And it just won't quit.
Yeah.
And they died laughing. And then we laughed and they're like, man, me too. And then what was interesting was by the end of the time, I had 2 or 3 interactions with them. Because I was authentic with them, they were authentic back. And this person said, they're funny. They were like, yeah, you can speak your truth to me, girl. And I was like, okay, I will.
Yeah.
And then later on, they actually sort of confessed to me, which was very interesting, that things were going really well at work. They were having a lot of success, but they weren't having a lot of time for relationships.
Mhm.
And so because I feel like I was authentic first, they were able to say,
Yes.
you know what? I really need more friends in my life.
Yeah.
It went from 0 to 60 pretty fast, which is better than, how's it
That's so
going? I like your
interesting.
sweater.
I love that because in a way, as we say, okay, like if you take a math equation and it's an actual equation, then you can reverse it.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, if x, y equals z, you can say z, how do I get to z? Well, now you can say x, y. So the same thing, that's the reverse engineering. So in
Sorry,
a
did
way,
you just do algebra on me? Because I blanked out.
so in a way with this reverse engineering, you can say, almost like you would with a vegetable garden, what do I want in my life?
Oh, yeah.
What things do I want to grow in my life? I need to plant those seeds. And so
Oh,
if
that's
you
good.
want friendships, then plant seeds for friendships.
Yeah. That means us asking that
yeah.
person out to
If
coffee.
you
or...
want loneliness, well then just go in and be braggadocious and make everybody feel bad around you
Yeah.
and put your best foot forward all the time.
Yeah.
If you want loneliness, well then just stay home.
Yeah.
Be isolated.
Yeah.
If you want loneliness, then avoid human contact and conversation and don't put yourself out there.
Yeah.
But if you want these friendships, well then, okay, plant seeds for that, which means taking the initiative, taking the step, being gracious, being kind, going to the places where other humans are. Those are all seed planting things.
Yeah.
If you want better health, then let's look at the seeds we're planting for our physical health.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make some even small changes that help
Yeah.
plant those seeds so that we have a better harvest
Yeah.
later on that stuff.
Yeah, a lot of times people are you'll see, and everybody struggles for sure, but you'll see them walking around and they're in a lot of pain or they're,
Right.
struggling with this or that. And there are so many seeds,
Right.
that could be planted that could affect that. I have some
Yes.
areas of my life with my health. I do a lot of things right.
Hmm.
There's a couple things I know that I need to do better, that I need to shore up because
I'm glad you're finally seeing it. Yeah.
well, after we had the talk on Friday, I was like, okay. So yeah, and it's a lot of times that can happen. I feel like,
Yeah.
well, it's going pretty good here. So I'm not being judgmental toward other people about fitness, but that does make a difference in how we
Yes.
feel. Same with
They don't
mental
have to.
health.
You don't have
I
to go
mean,
buy the whole tree. You can just plant some seeds, and
yeah,
sometimes
go for a walk.
sometimes that seed is getting to bed on time.
Yeah,
Sometimes that seed is taking a
drinking
walk.
water.
Yeah, including water, all those kinds of things. But the interesting thing about the seeds is they beget more seeds, and so a lot of times just taking one step will cause you, especially if you have some return on it, will cause you to want to take some other
Yeah.
steps. We have the same thing for our emotional or spiritual or mental health too,
Hmm.
in the same way. If we find ourselves constantly in this sense of anxiety, this frustration, okay, well, what seeds can we begin to plant in
Yeah.
that way? Maybe that's taking 5 minutes in the morning or at night to do balanced breathing,
Hmm.
like we talked about at Dreamers a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or maybe that is taking the time to read a book and bring your mind and your thought into this other coordinated world of writing. And that
Yes.
really is a transformative thing.
Yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
that thing is to either meditate or pray and to be active in that, to
Hmm.
read through some things, to get
Stretch.
together with some people to talk about some stuff, whatever that is. Maybe that's to join a group or a book group or a Bible study or whatever
Hmm.
that is. But there are lots of steps that we can take
Yeah.
to plant seeds that will impact our emotional and mental and spiritual health. So it's not enough just to identify the lack. Oh, I just always feel frazzled. Oh,
Yeah.
I just feel detached from God. Oh, I just feel this.
Yeah. I feel like my
Okay.
friends aren't
Yeah,
calling me or
that's the landscape we find ourselves in.
yeah.
Now, what do we want to plant in order to address that? What
Yeah.
do you want to plant to address your finances?
Yeah.
If things are constantly catawampus in that scenario, what seeds you may not be able to solve all of it, but
Mhm.
we can plant some of those seeds,
Yeah,
you know.
what's interesting too about looking at things that way, is it keeps us from playing the victim.
Yes,
And that's a
right.
convenient thing that we all do from time to time.
Hmm.
And when you say, well, gosh, my knee just hurts all the time. Well, you're wearing high-heeled shoes and you're just walking around.
Right,
I mean, or whatever. We tend to think that things are always happening to us.
right.
And I think a lot of times we're causing some of those things. And when
Yes,
you play the victim, you think, well, I just can't ever, do this or I can't ever do that. When we can change some of our behavior, we probably have more control over some of those things than we realize.
yes.
And I think it can be freeing because
I
instead of
think
feeling trapped,
it's
you feel like you can
really
make a difference.
empowering. I mean, it
Yes,
really is.
empowering is a good
Yeah.
word for it. So,
So it's an interesting thing, this idea of kind of reverse engineering or asking ourselves, what harvest do I want? What things do I want to see grow in my life? And if you kind of go through each section or part of your life and ask yourselves, what does that look like today? What would I like it to look like? What seeds could I begin to plant in that?
yeah.
And those are conversations you can have with other people. You asked on Friday night,
Did I?
did I? You asked on Friday night, like, how could you, what are the steps you could take in
Yeah,
this?
like what's a good, I always like to have homework because,
Yeah.
what would you say to encourage people? Are there maybe 5 areas of life that we can all look at? I mean, how would you
Yeah, I
sit
think
down with a
there's at least, you
notepad?
can talk about, you can look at the landscape of your health life. You
Mm-hmm.
can look at your family. You can look at your friendships.
Friendships, professional
You can look
life.
at your community. You can look at your mental and spiritual health. You can look
Yeah,
at your coworkers and work life. And in each of those, you can ask yourself, what do I want to grow here?
I like that idea. And that makes me feel better than making some list and thinking, well, I've really been planting bad seeds in 4 of
Hmm.
these areas. So, yeah, I mean, we're human and life is hard. So that's going to happen. But
Yeah.
how can I grow this better?
And then I think the other thing, we talked about in one of our last podcasts, um, before the, ever long fall break, we talked about the idea of inciting incidences.
Oh,
And
right.
so
Yeah.
this idea that of taking an action that will kind of hold you to a choice or decision you've made,
Hmm.
taking an action that might hold you accountable. And a lot of times that will involve somebody else. So you say to yourself, okay, well, I would like to see in my physical health these things grow. I'd like to get better blood flow. I'd like to have more energy. I would like to do that. So I'm going to plant these seeds. And one of those seeds is kind of exercising 3 days a week
Okay.
or walking 3 days a week or whatever it is. And so in order to make sure that I do that, I'm going to text Sherry and say, would you do this with me?
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
odd
Yeah.
because Sherry doesn't date you anymore, but it's still.
Don't make it weird with Sherry. Why are you gonna make it weird
Sorry,
with
Sherry. I know it's been 12 years since we saw each other
Yes.
last. I just wanted to know if you'd like to exercise
But would
together.
you like to meet me at
Would
the
you
mall for a walk?
meet me at the Y? No, the idea is that it's very hard for us to do the right things in our lives.
Yeah.
That's just the human thing. That's not because you're weak. That's just the way reality works. And
Yeah.
so involving someone else and giving yourself some sense of
Yeah.
accountability
We could plant seeds
makes
together.
that thing much, much easier. And you're helping somebody else in the process. So
Yeah.
yeah, whatever seeds that you plant, if they're difficult for you, well, find an inciting incident. Find something that helps keep you accountable. Start small and a manageable, doable thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
seeds are often small.
Yes.
And then just say, okay, I've always really wanted to be a painter. I've desperately wanted to be more creative in my life. And you've been talking about that for 6 years now. Okay, well
Sure.
then join the art association
There
and
you
go
go.
to a meeting and do this thing. And don't plan on being good at it. Just plan on enjoying it
Yeah.
and just see where that goes.
Yeah, I like that. And
Yeah.
it's, the same thing in relationships. If we wanted to plant better seeds with our daughter right now, she doesn't necessarily want to be with us as much as she used to.
Right.
I don't know why, because we're pretty cool.
Pretty
But
awesome people.
anyway, a good example of how we could plant better seeds with her in this phase we know that she loves to go do fun stuff
Right.
like bowling
Yeah.
or whatever activities that that she enjoys, or your kiddo
Yeah.
or that person. So we could say, let's try to at least every other weekend go do something fun that
Yeah.
she'll remember, and
Yeah.
plant seeds of that connection.
Yes.
And but it is going to take work for each of us. And I think people sitting down and making did you ever listen to, was it on the records when you used to have a record and it was a book, and they do a little
Yeah,
chime and they would
harp.
turn the page. Sometimes you'd be listening to something and they would say, stop the record now and draw a picture of your favorite elephant or whatever.
yeah.
It was those interactive things, or maybe it was a radio program. But
Yeah.
the idea being that I wish all of us right now could, if you want to, if you're driving, don't.
Yes.
But stop right now, and while you're in the middle of this, and
Yeah.
and make a list of those areas in your life that are most important to you, and write down a few ideas on some better seeds you can plant.
And sometimes you've
Could be
got
good.
to plant seeds that seem unrelated. Like there is something to this amount of technology that and technology is not evil. AI is not evil. None of these things are bad. But out of balance or too much, concentrated, they can produce some harmful effects.
Yeah.
Like beer is fine. Too much beer, not fine.
Yeah.
And so, maybe like, okay, I need to spend less time online. Great.
Yeah.
So now the seed you can plant is finding something you would do instead of being online.
Yeah.
So that might be reading a book. That might be playing an instrument, learning to play an instrument. Maybe watching a show that you feel better after you've seen it instead of worse after you've seen it. Whatever
Yes.
those things are, set yourself up in a place where you're not spending as much time. Put your phone, on the table by the front door instead of in your lap or in your pocket. So
Yeah.
you're not as, accustomed to grabbing it. But find something else. That's a seed you can plant
Yeah.
that will, directly result in more peace and
Yes.
harmony in your life.
I think the best news of this whole conversation is the idea that we have control
Yes.
to make things better.
Right.
Sometimes you can't. If
Yeah.
that person's mad and they don't want to connect, then that's on their end.
Yeah.
But we can, by planting seeds and making these small efforts, we can improve our outlook, our life, our relationships.
Absolutely.
And that's a hopeful thing.
So this is that opportunity. I think, you talked about on Friday night at the Dreamers event about getting a cup of coffee, sitting down with a little piece of paper, making this kind of a list, asking yourself, what seeds could I plant that would make for a better neighborhood? It would make for a better relationship with neighbors. What does that look like? Do I check in on them once a week or once every 2 weeks? Do I take some cookies to somebody who needs them? Do I take someone's trash can back, even though they leave it out on the curb for 2 days? What do what can I do?
Resentment.
Yeah, what can I? But all those things, if you kind of work through that list of things, so your mental health, your physical health, your family, your daily coworker life, whatever that looks like, volunteer life, whatever that is, your friendships, your mental health, your community, those kinds of things. And say to yourself, okay, or just ask yourself, where are the places of the most frustration in my life? Reoccurring frustration, reoccurring discomfort, reoccurring agitation. What seeds could I plant now that will change some of that? Yeah. And we can't control all of it, but there's a lot we can control, and we'll be better off because we did it.
Yeah. And if you feel comfortable enough with your spouse or a close friend or family member, share your list or share parts of your list. Yeah. It'd be awkward, though, if I sat down with you and I was like, well, let me tell you about the seeds that you need.
My biggest agitation is Jay.
Here's why. But be cool about which ones you share.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we always encourage people to do that together.
Oh, man. And what a perfect time to do this as we go into the holidays, because, as we've said before, unless you make a change, oftentimes we're just going to set up to repeat. So there's a lot of stuff going into the holidays that every year you think, oh my God, I hate this part. I hate this. I hate this. Okay, great. Are there some seeds you could plant to change that? Maybe that seed is saying, you know what, I'm only going to do 4 things in a week instead of 12. Yeah. Maybe that's a sanity seed you're planting. But being intentional about that is really, really effective.
Yeah. Reminds me of that Tears for Fears song. Do you remember that? Sowing the seeds of love. Sowing the seeds of love. Yeah. That was a really good song.
Sowing the seeds.
Sowing the seeds.
The birds and the bees. Yeah. My girlfriend and me.
Are we the only one? We're probably the only Tears for Fears fans. But you guys, look that one up.
Yeah. You're welcome for that earworm. So,
yes, there you go.
Another seed you can plant is actually showing up to a Dreamers Live event.
Oh, yes. Plant the seed.
Because you will leave feeling encouraged and better. It'll be in the middle of the holiday season, so it's going to help you that much more.
You will meet friends.
Meet people.
Yes. And if you want to connect with someone else, share this particular podcast and say, let's get together and discuss our seed list. That seems weird.
Just send that without any context. Would you like to get together and talk about seeds? Or my seed list?
No. The seed list sounds even weirder.
All right, friends. We got to cut it off there. Guys, we are so grateful to be back with you. Thank you for being a part of the Dreamers Live podcast with us. We're looking forward to doing this again soon.
Yes.
Make plans to join us in mid-December for the Dreamers Live event, last Dreamers Live of the year. And we'll talk more between now and then.
We'll see you then.
Peace out.
Thanks for listening. We'd love it if you would like and subscribe to the podcast and then share it with the people you know. We want to include as many people as possible in the conversation. Also, be sure to check out our Got a Minute Mini podcast, which pairs funny stories with original music all in about 15 minutes. Thanks! This has been a production of Pioneer Dream.